Last time we stopped at this paragraph, not being satisfied with the Dharma, with that Dharma of the teacher, of Brahma. Disappointed with it, the Buddha left. Number 17, still in search monks of what is wholesome, seeking the supreme state of sublime peace, I wandered by stages through the Magadhan country until eventually I arrived at Urovela near Senani Gama. There I saw an agreeable piece of ground, a delightful grove, with a clear flowing river with pleasant, smooth banks, and nearby a village for alms resort. I considered, this is an agreeable piece of ground, this is a delightful grove, with a clear flowing river with pleasant, smooth banks, and nearby a village for alms resort. This will serve for the striving of a clansman intent on striving. And I sat down there thinking, this will serve for striving. Footnotes number 14, text chapter 2, section 3.2 continues from this point with an extended account of the Bodhisattva's extreme ascetic practices, followed by his discovery of the middle way. This text is what we're going to read next after this sutta. And it will give us more details. Okay, number 18. Sister Lin Twai, would you like to read?
Then monks, being myself subject to birth, having understood the danger in what is subject to birth, seeking the unborn supreme security from bondage, nibbana. I attained the unborn supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being myself subject to aging, having understood the danger in what is subject to aging, seeking the unaging supreme security from bondage, nibbana. I attained the unaging supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being myself subject to sickness, having understood the danger in what is subject to sickness, seeking the unailing supreme security from bondage, nibbana. I attained the unailing supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being myself subject to death, having understood the danger in what is subject to death, seeking the deathless supreme security from bondage, nibbana. I attained the deathless supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being myself subject to sorrow, having understood the danger in what is subject to sorrow, seeking the sorrowless supreme security from bondage, nibbana. I attained the sorrowless supreme security from bondage, nibbana. Being myself subject to defilement, having understood the danger in what is subject to defilement, seeking the undefiled supreme security from bondage, nibbana. I attained the undefiled supreme security from bondage, nibbana. The knowledge and vision arose in me. My liberation is unshakable. This is my last birth. Now there is no more renewed existence.
Thanks, Sister Lin Twai. This is taken from Majjhima Nikaya 26, Ariya Pariyasana Sutta. Let's take a look quickly at how did we get here. Initially, we started from this. The Buddha explains there are two kinds of search, the noble search and the ignoble search. What is the ignoble search? Here, someone being himself subject to birth, we also seek what is subject to birth, subject to aging, and also subject to sickness, death, sorrow, defilement. What are examples of this search? Everything worldly. Here it highlights wife and children, men and women slaves, goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, until gold and silver. This was relevant back then. In the modern context, whatever worldly things that we accumulate now, laptop, handphones, watch, all this stuff. And then the Buddha continued, what is the noble search? While we are subject to birth, sickness, death, and so on, we seek the unending supreme security from bondage, nibbana. And then the Buddha continues. This line is quite relevant, I feel. While the Buddha is still an enlightened bodhisattva, the Buddha too, subject to birth, seek what is subject to birth. So the Buddha was just like us. So what is the difference then? But the Buddha went a step further. After seeking all this worldly stuff, the Buddha realized, oh, this is pointless. And that's why the Buddha seek the unborn supreme security from bondage, nibbana. So he went forth and then he studied under the first teacher, Alara Kalama, learned all his dharma and discipline, attained whatever he can attain. But then, he attained until here, the base of nothingness, but the Buddha thinks that this is not the dharma that I'm looking for. So he left his teacher and then looked for another teacher. Here is a combination of Uddakarama Buddha and also his father, Rama. Learn everything he can under him, still not satisfied, still disappointed. So he left his teacher, and then here, not being satisfied with the Dhamma, disappointed with it, the Buddha left. And then, still in search of what is the supreme state of sublime peace, the Buddha meditate on his own. So this is the place mentioned, Uruwala Nyesena Nikama, through the Magadan country. So this sutta directly jumps the Buddha attained Nibbana. But in the next sutta, we will see more details on how the Buddha practiced extreme ascetics and how the Buddha abandoned that practice. Any questions or comments on this sutta before we read the next sutta? If not, let's continue reading. Sister Xinghui, would you like to read next?
The realization of the three true knowledges. Knowledge. 11. Sakaka asked the Blessed One, has there never arisen in Master Gautama a feeling so pleasant that it could invade his mind and remains? Has there never arisen in Master Gautama a feeling so painful that it could invade his mind and remains? 12. Why not? Agi-sana. Here, Agi-sana. Before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, I thought household life is crowded and dusty. Life gone forth is wide open. It is not easy, while living in a home, to lead the holy life, utterly perfect and pure as a polished shell. Suppose I shave off my hair and beard, put on the, how do you pronounce this?
Okay.
sorry,
Ochre.
ochre road, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Later, while still young, a black-haired young man endowed with the blessing of youth in the prime of life, as in text 2, 3(1), 14-17. And I sat down there thinking, this will serve for striving.
Okay, thanks, Sister Singhui. Okay, let's take a look here. Footnotes number 15. Sachaka was a debater whom on an earlier occasion the Buddha had defeated in a discussion. Agivezana, the name by which the Buddha addresses him just below, is probably his clan name. The present discourse begins with a discussion about pleasant and painful feeling, which gives the cue for Sachaka to pose these questions to the Buddha. So Sachaka or Agivezana, they are the same person, probably same person, but just addressed differently. Ask the question, has there never arisen in Master Gundama a feeling so pleasant it could invade his mind and remain? And also the opposite, a feeling so painful that could invade his mind and remain. And then the Buddha said, why not? Before the Buddha's enlightenment, while he is still an unenlightened bodhisattva, he thought, household life is crowded. Life going forth is not easy to live in a home to lead the holy life. So that's why the Buddha shaved off the hair and beard, put on the robe, the ochre robe, and go forth from the home life into homelessness. Okay, ochre here is a pale brownish yellow color. So usually most Theravadan monks wear this color. An earthy pigment containing ferric oxide, typically with clay, the color of clay, varying from light yellow to brown or red. So here, similar to what we have read in the previous sutta, and the Buddha sat down there and thinking, this will serve for striving. Okay, next paragraph is the Jolene.
Sorry, Brother Marcel, how do you read the character before 14-17?
Okay, so this ellipsis, this one, is the abridged by Bhikkhu Bodhi to shorten this text. But this is, if you go to here, text chapter 2, section 3, and the first sutta, and number 14-17, which is, okay, if I go back a little bit, this was chapter 2, and this is the subsection 3, and this is the first sutta. 3 back and forth. Then 14-17, then you just search through the number 14-17.
Got it.
So this one is what we have read. Yeah. It is exactly the same line. That's why the Bhikkhu Bodhi just shortened it. Yeah. Okay. Good question. Thanks for the question. Okay. Yeah, because if Bhikkhu Bodhi were to repeat this, then the book will be like this thick. This is the characteristics of the Pali Canon. A lot of repetition. Okay, that's a good question. Let's go back. Next paragraph, 17. Sister Jolene, would you like to read?
Now these three similes occurred to me spontaneously, never heard before. Suppose there were a wet, sappy piece of wood lying in water, and a man came with an upper fire stick, thinking, I shall light a fire, I shall produce heat. What do you think? Agisana, could the man light a fire and produce heat by taking the upper fire stick and rubbing it against the wet, sappy piece of wood lying in the water? No, Master Gautama. Why not? Because it is a wet, sappy piece of wood and it is lying in water. Eventually, the man who reap only weariness and disappointment.
Okay, thanks, Sister Jolene.
Thank you, brother.
Actually, you can continue reading this one.
So too, Agivsana, as to what those ascetics and Brahmins who still do not live bodily withdrawn from sensual pleasures, and whose sensual desire, affection, infatuation, thirst, and fever for sensual pleasures has not been fully abandoned and suppressed internally. Even if those good ascetics and Brahmins feel painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, they are incapable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. And even if those good ascetics and Brahmins do not feel painful, racking, piercing feelings due to exertion, they are incapable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. This was the first simile that occurred to me spontaneously, never heard before.
Thanks, Sister Jolene. This number 17 starts with a simile. Yeah, this is, I think, one of the most skillful quality of the Buddha is the ability to give simile. Here, the Buddha gives the simile of a wet, sappy piece of wood lying in water and then combined with an upper fire stick. And he wants to make a fire, as like a fire that produces heat. And then he asks that man, could we produce fire by using this wet piece of wood and the upper fire stick? The man replied, no, Master Gautama. Why? Because it is a wet, sappy piece of wood. And it's also lying in water. How could you make a fire out of this? Eventually, the man will reap only weariness and disappointment. Yeah. So what does this simile refers to? The next paragraph, the Buddha explained. Those ascetics who do not withdraw from sensual pleasures and whose sensual desires, affection, infatuation, thirst, and fever for sensual pleasures has not been fully abandoned and suppressed internally. So, even if those good ascetics, Brahmins, feel painful, racking, piercing feelings when they exert efforts, they are incapable of knowledge and vision and supreme enlightenment. This is the first part. Okay, here, this is the first part. They feel painful feelings. Let me highlight. The second part is almost exactly the same line, but here is the keyword. Those ascetic and Brahmin do not feel the painful, racking, piercing feelings. Yeah. The rest is the same. If they both feel the painful feeling or not feel the painful feeling, they are still incapable of enlightenment. That's number 17. Okay, let's see. Okay, this sutta is pretty long. We will finish by probably in 3 or 4 days. So I think I'll stop here for today. Any questions or comments?
I thought the sutta quite thick, no? How come we ending at 3-4 days?
Maybe that's just my estimation, but let's see. This is 18, 19, 20.
Last time the General Changguan took don't know 1 year plus or what, no? 2
Yeah.
years, you know.
Yeah, that was the whole book. I was talking about just this sutta. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Shifu covered it in years there, probably 2 or 3 years there. But does this sutta alone, 24, 25, 27, this probably would take around, well, could be longer than 4 days. Maybe it would take us 1 week just to finish this sutta. But we will see. Any other questions or comments? If not, let's do a dedication. 厌消三障诸烦恼，厌的智慧证明了，普愿这一章细笑处，实是常行菩萨道。阿弥陀佛。Till we meet again, may we be guided by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a good Friday ahead. Okay, thanks everyone for the feedback and to help with the rotation. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Happy holiday.
Happy holiday.
Happy holiday.